Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Claire Lynch of the Doris and Bertie Writing School, and I'm on a mission to help you become a better, more confident, more persuasive writer. In this video, I want to talk about 6 ways that your school teachers sabotaged your business writing. Now, I'm not saying they did this on purpose. The skills they taught you back then might well have been appropriate for your age at the time, but that doesn't mean the style of writing they encouraged you to adopt back then works in the working world. After all, your teachers had to read what you write. They were paid to do so. But your colleagues and clients are busy people with a million different things to think about. So your writing needs to grab their attention in among a hectic inbox. So let's dive straight in to the first way that your school teacher may have negatively affected your approach to business writing. So that first reason is they got you used to a captive audience. Now, at school, you handed in your homework and it came back marked. And this process taught you that every word you wrote would be read and evaluated by someone deeply interested in your thoughts. Sadly, things could not be more different in business. Your colleagues and clients and customers are busy people with 100 different demands on their time. And unlike your teachers, they aren't paid to read your stuff. So the lesson? In business, unlike at school, you have to fight to be read. In business, you need to accept that at best, most people will be scanning your words. So keep your writing as short as it can be and make life easy on your easily distracted readers by breaking up your text with headings, subheadings, bullets, and short paragraphs. Reason number 2 your teachers stopped you from being a better business writer. They taught you to write with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So if you're anything like me, at school you learnt that an essay must have an introduction and a conclusion, and the meat of your argument came in the middle. And from what I've seen of a lot of business documents, that's a really hard habit to shake. I've lost count of the number of times I've encountered a report or a proposal that starts by setting the scene or explaining the context or generally just sort of warming the reader up. But here's the thing. In business, you do not have the luxury of the preamble. Your readers are time-pressed, so you need to dive straight in with your main point. And in business, the main point is usually the action you want your reader to take. So what's the lesson here? Before you sit down to write that email, memo, webpage, or report, ask yourself, what do I want my reader to do as a result of my words? The answer gives you your first line. No background, no context, just the action. Reason number 3 your teacher sabotaged your business writing. They taught you to pad, not prune. At school, you were probably told to expand on your answers and to show your working. And this was valuable at the time because it trained you to think more deeply about questions and articulate your answers to those questions. But in business, padding will hold you back because sometimes people just want a yes or no answer, or they need to know what it is you're asking them to do. So filling pages for the sake of it isn't going to impress them like it impressed your teacher. It's more likely to exasperate them than impress them. So what's the lesson here? The lesson here is prune, prune, and prune again. Next time you write something, I've got a challenge for you. Once you've reached the point where you are happy with your work, go back and cut 20%. Yes, 20%. I know it sounds like a lot, but I guarantee your end product will be better for it. So remember, cut, cut, cut. Reason number 4, I think your teacher did a disservice to you as a business writer, and that's they rewarded you for using fancy words. So when you were introduced to a new word at school, did your teachers ask you to immediately use it in a sentence to prove you understood it properly? And if so, they were doing you a favour because they were increasing your vocabulary. But this task also subtly rewarded you for using words that were new and strange and only just within your grasp. Now you're writing in business. Pretentious words, nasty neologisms, impenetrable corporate jargon, those are the adult equivalent. But words like that will hold you back. Because in business, our goal isn't to impress some authority figure, some teacher. Our goal is to be clear and persuasive, and as I've said repeatedly, to get your reader to take action. The lesson here? If there's a choice between a long word and a short word, go for the short one. For example, say start, not commence, after, not subsequently, and change, not adjustment. And here's another tip. Never use a word you wouldn't use outside the office. Do you align, integrate, or leverage things at home? Probably not, so those words are best avoided. Reason number 5, I think your teacher sabotaged your business writing. They made you distance yourself from your own words. What do I mean by that? Well, at school, you were probably like me, taught that overt references to the reader as you or the writer as I were a bit of a no-no. In academic or scientific writing, this approach absolutely works. In those contexts, it makes you sound more persuasive because it makes you sound more objective. For example, in the chemistry lab, you were probably taught to use a passive form, such as the sodium chloride was added to the test tube, rather than an active form, such as I added the sodium chloride to the test tube. Or in a literature essay, you'd win points for a formal expression like Hamlet's fatal flaw might be considered to be procrastination. You'd probably lose marks for the more familiar, well, you could say Hamlet's fatal flaw was procrastination. But the reverse of this is true in business writing. In business, if you address your reader as you, she'll feel a connection with you. Refer to yourself as I, and you sound approachable and accountable. For example, compare. It is regrettable that mistakes were made in the dispatch of the order, with I'm sorry your order didn't arrive on time. And you can see there as well, not only am I using friendlier you and I language, I'm also using shorter rather than longer words. And which one would you rather hear? So the lessons? Number 1, learn to spot passive verb forms and rework them so they're active. Number 2, address your reader as you as much as you can. She'll feel much more of a connection with you, I promise. And finally, reason number 6, your teacher hampered your style when it comes to business writing. And actually this one can apply to a lot of writing, and that's that they taught you outdated rules about grammar. Now, you can't blame your teachers for instilling in you rules, and particularly rules that apply to academic prose. And if you went on to university, a lot of those rules may well have fared you well. For example, I always advise my own students at Cambridge not to start a sentence with and or but. It just seems too informal. I also ask them to avoid contractions like can't for cannot or won't for will not. But as any writer will tell you, in business writing, it's perfectly okay to start a sentence with and or but. In fact, doing so can make your sentences shorter and therefore your writing easier to read. Similarly, contractions aren't a problem if you're after a conversational style, and a lot of business writing, good business writing, does have a friendly conversational style. So my final lesson, break the rules your teacher taught you, if doing so makes your writing sound better and easier to read. And one final tip, read your work aloud if it sounds friendly, accessible and conversational and not like an essay, then you're on the right track. So that's my 6 reasons to ignore what your teacher taught you at school. But what do you think? Do you find you still write by the rules they gave you at school? Has this video made you rethink the way you write? So let me know in the comments if you found this video useful or interesting, and I'd also really love to hear about any memories you have of being taught to write at school, so please do share those in the comments below too. And in the meantime, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give me a thumbs up. Click that notification bell as well so you never miss a video. And of course, share this video with your friends.